Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Sampo Parkkinen with us today. He's a CEO at Revive or Revieve. It's a beauty. He's a beauty retail AI expert. He's helping brand and retailers solve real business challenges with AI powered personalization. I actually had a client in that niche, an Israeli client, about a year ago, so quite familiar with it. Sampo, welcome to the pod. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you've been up to.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Charles. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Revieve. We help brands and retailers provide hyper-personalized customer experiences to their audiences using AI. We've been at this for 10 years this year. So we started in 2016. Before that, so I'm a serial entrepreneur, unemployable, I guess. But before that, we had a different retail technology company that was acquired back in 2013. So spent some time at the acquire, and then started Revieve 10 years ago, and then also done some angel investing. I'm involved in an early stage venture firm as well back in Finland, and done a lot as my gray hair and gray beard point out.
Yeah, you're one of the rare ones that off the bat started a business, right? Like you and I, straight out of uni, I guess we launched a business. So why did you take that decision? I guess you never looked back, or did you accept one job? Since I see director of product development here, or were you always an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I mean that was after we had been acquired, right? So that was the acquire. They gave me a role in product management for a couple of years, but that was really an earn out. So no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've never really had. I mean, sure, I had jobs when I was kind of in college and university and studying and part-time jobs, but a full-time job is something I've never really had. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I don't think there was a particular strategic thought around it. I mean, I didn't grow up saying, okay, I absolutely want to be an entrepreneur. It was really just one of those things where, again, you're kind of young, you're maybe a bit naive in a good sense. You're, sort of open to a lot of things. You don't have a lot of responsibilities, and then you come up with an idea or something that seems pretty interesting. You're like, okay, let's go pursue this. And then I really never really looked back, and I don't think I could do very much else. I think I would either get bored or very frustrated.
Another commonality, which is also related to the first one that both of us have, is you left your country, right? Like, seems that you're this out of comfort zone guy that loves taking risk.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, again, it's one of those things. I mean, it was kind of we had been acquired, right? We were living in Finland, my wife and our two kids, and the acquirer that was based here in Chicago, where I am right now as well, said that, hey, why don't you come over to Chicago? And I had never been to Chicago, first and foremost. I mean, once during the sort of transaction and and so forth before closing, but I mean, I didn't know anything about the city, not really. And my wife and I were just like, I guess we're both pretty adventurous, I guess, because we were like, okay, why don't we go? I mean, the kids are young, you can always go back, so why don't we just do it? So that's what we sort of decided to do, and we did the same thing again. So we moved back for a while, to start Revieve back to Finland, and then last year we decided to do the same thing again, and we said, okay, why don't we just move back to Chicago? And we're like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So this time we didn't even take any of our furniture. We basically sold everything, and we came with like six suitcases. So, I mean, it's just natural somehow. I don't know how to explain it. It's just,
Are you satisfied with your choice? What's the difference between the American culture and the European culture? And also what you see on the startup side of things? Is Europe going through a startup renaissance right now with everything that's been happening? I think founders got tired of bureaucracy. So whichever questions you want to take first.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of great kind of European startups, a lot of great European founders. I think one of the things where Europeans could really learn from Americans is the art of selling. So I think a lot of times, like us Europeans, and I'm Finnish, so I'm still European. we kind of sell ourselves short. We might have a great product, great technology, fantastic engineering, like mind-blowing stuff, but we really sell ourselves short on the sales side of things. So we don't really know how to tell a story around it. We don't really maybe even want to tell a story around it. We say, here's the product, it's great, use it and you'll figure it out, and it's going to be awesome. So that's something I think we could kind of take away from. But I think Europe is a great place to build a company. It's a great place to start a company. Maybe not from the sense that the biggest markets for your products and services may not be the European ones. There's a lot of fragmentation. You mentioned there's a lot of regulation. I mean, the EU loves to regulate things, but the quality of engineering, for example, the quality of talent that you can get for, quite honestly, a fraction of the cost that you can in the US. I mean, you just can't compare the two from that perspective. So yeah.
I guess you're the best of both worlds then. It's like fantastic engineering, and you'd learn by being in the US to not be shy, about asking for capital, for example, and being out there, which is the great thing about America, right? And still the quote unquote American dream. Although the American dream is not the same as before, right? But it's just where we're seeing the most millionaire per capita, right? So it's like it's just a great place to be as an entrepreneur and as a founder. And I think it's also very sensible if you live in a capitalist world, right? Like to be aligned with that philosophy. I think a bunch of people try to fight that needlessly. Tell me about what you're building. Like, why AI skin?
Yeah, no, so that's an interesting question. I mean, this really started from a very kind of personal issue of mine, which again, I mentioned the last company I sold, I moved over to Chicago and my own skin got really bad. And my wife was telling me to go to the dermatologist, but I was a guy. I mean, I'm a guy. I'm like, I'm not going to go to the dermatologist. I mean, like, men don't do that. I'm certainly not going to go to one of those beauty stores because they're just going to try to sell me something I don't need. So I kind of suffered through it, and eventually I went. It took about 9 months, and I mean, it was nothing special. I just needed to know which product to buy. Really, that was it. And I had taken pictures of myself, and that's when I started to really sort of first time thinking about this. I was like, okay, well, what if I wasn't here? Like, what could you tell me about me? And like, why isn't there an easier way? Like, why do I have to like how much research do I have to do as a consumer to figure out which one of those 4,000 products in the store I should buy? Like, why isn't this easier? Like, there are so many alternatives. There's so many channels. There's there's an overwhelming amount of consumer choice. And these particularly kind of products in the personal care space, whether it's like skin, health, beauty, wellness, like these are the most personal product decisions that you're ever going to make as a consumer. Why is nobody making this easier? Like discovering the right products for your needs. Like, why isn't it easier? So that's where we really kind of started from. And again, we had worked with retailers and brands in our past, so we kind of knew how they operate, how their organizations are sort of structured, what you need to build from a technical perspective in order to have something that they can actually deploy, not just something you can sell, but that they can actually deploy it. And so we decided to kind of leverage that knowledge and experience that we had, and said, okay, well, why don't we build a platform that we can offer for retailers and brands, as opposed to going the other way around, which would have been kind of, well, why don't we just build it for ourselves and become a brand ourselves and just leverage the great technological advantages that we have to kind of win in the market? And I guess both would have been equally good options kind of in hindsight, but I think that's really where we started. So it was just like my own kind of personal insight, and then kind of digging into that and taking things from there.
Right. Does it feel odd to run a company that's tailored market is mostly women?
Well, I mean, it certainly does. Like, it certainly does. I mean, I've got 2 co-founders, and the 3 of us are all guys. So in the early days, particularly, investors and fellow angels and founders who knew us, they were like, "You guys are beauty? Like, what is that?" But in the end of the day, like, it is a very fascinating space to be in, because it's one of these spaces where, first of all, if we think about commerce, the margins are high. Like the margins are really, really high. These are highly profitable products. Now, what that means in any market, if you have that situation, is that there's just an overwhelming amount of competition for consumer interests. Like everybody wants a piece of that revenue. And by the way, they're willing to pay a lot to get a piece of that revenue because they know once they do, they also get a lot of money, which means it's very competitive. Like it is one of the most competitive markets that I've ever seen in any market. I mean, there was a statistic. I was speaking to the CEO of a beauty brand, a US beauty brand, a couple of months ago, and he told me that just in skincare, there were 1,000 brands, 1,000 new brands started in the US last year. 1,000 new brands in the. I mean, some of those are not going to make it, of course, but I'm like, it is so highly competitive. So what that creates is it creates real business kind of challenges for brands and retailers. Say, well, how do we differentiate? Like, how do we make sure the consumer remembers us? Like, we can go and chase the next channel and chase the next advertising opportunity, and we can decide, oh, now we're going to go to Amazon for distribution. Oh, now we're going to go to TikTok Shop for this. Like, we can do all of that stuff, but in the end of the day, like, how do we differentiate? Like, what is it that we can do to make sure that we are going to win in the long run? And I think that's where there's like a fascinating application of AI in the customer experience and how you really show to the consumer using AI that you really know them, you care about them, you're actually helping them buy as opposed to just trying to sell to them. And I think there's a lot of these types of unique characteristics that sort of come together, which again, I didn't know about when we got into it. I mean, it's you know, whether it's kind of, you know, beauty or whether it's another vertical, you know, the way I always look at this is that when you're building a company, you know, you should really start from a customer problem first and foremost. Like, start with the problem and make sure the problem is real, it's big enough, it's powerful enough, and important enough for your customers to pay to have something to solve that problem. Because I mean, there's a lot of problems that are just like, it's a bit of a nuisance, but I'm never going to get to it. It's not big enough. And I think a lot of those things really come together nicely in kind of the beauty and personal care space.
Yeah, I believe you that it's a very profitable space, and you have so many products, right? Like, yeah, what's the average price per client? How much clients have you got so far? You fundraising? Give me some business details here.
Yeah, so I mean, we are again, we're not fundraising. We're EBITDA profitable. We did a you know, we're still kind of under 10 million in ARR, but we're growing pretty nicely. But you know, we did a you know, kind of a big pivot, if you will, to becoming sort of EBITDA profitable and kind of default alive. You know, after the war in Ukraine really started, so we kind of said, okay, maybe this doesn't have immediate consequences for our business, but it surely will. And you might end up in a recession, and you might end up in an environment where, you know, kind of that post-COVID craziness when everyone was buying everything. And you know, our ACVs went from, you know, about 25K to close to 100K per customer on average. And they're still there, but that's like a once in a lifetime moment. So we kind of recognized, thankfully early enough, that this isn't sustainable. Like you're basically, you know, we were living in an environment where you could just sell anything to anybody just by being present, like just by being there. And I kept on telling the team, you know, we've got about 50 people today. I kept on telling the team, I'm like, because I had seen a couple of cycles already earlier. I was like, this is not normal. Yeah, like this is not normal. Like this is not normal. Like this is going to end. Like, let's enjoy it while it lasts, but it's gonna end at some point. Like, and thankfully, actually, it did, because what we also see now in the market is that, you know, the customers that buy, like, they're really buying to solve a business problem. They're not buying because, you know, they one of their bosses said, or their boss said they should buy something. And you know, to be honest, that's something I worry with the AI craze too, because the AI kind of hype is like, well, are we going to get another wave of folks buying for the sake of buying because, oh my God, we feel like we're left behind because AI, and we're not doing anything in AI, we're not doing enough. So that's kind of something I worry about as well.
But is that still a question? I think you should have felt that one for now, because it's been 3 years now, and it seems that even the slow adopters, the tail end, are catching up to AI. And I'm saying that because yeah, we've seen Jack Dorsey, for example, fire 6,000 employees as of late,
Mhm.
and people starting to observe market wise, right, that people are losing their jobs to AI. I think like finally the market is starting to reflect the AI revolution kicking in.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I also think like the one thing which kind of keeps me also grounded in this is when I speak to other founders, when I speak to kind of CEOs of technology companies, we're sort of in our own little bubble. Like we see everything moving super fast in AI, and the technology is moving super fast, and we're adopting it like we've always been using AI. Like we're an AI company for 10 years, but we see everything moving super quickly. But then when you talk to more traditional businesses, let's say you talk to beauty brands, let's say you talk to retailers, folks that are not, like, technology is not at the core of what they do. Like it really isn't. And the technology experts that they have internally are few and far between. You actually start seeing, well, you know what? There's a lot of folks who have done virtually nothing in the space, or very little. Like some, sure, but you kind of start to see this almost like a barbell market, where as a technologist you feel like things are moving really quickly, and oh my god, every like the world is moving super quickly. But then if you look at kind of enterprise, you look at sectors of the economy which are historically not that technology infused, and you see that, actually they haven't moved very much at all. And AI hasn't really impacted their business very much at all. So that's also something that I think kind of keeps me a bit grounded, because I can see both sides. I'm like, okay, like on one hand, I'm like, we got to do more. Like the world is changing, which it is, and technology is moving at a pace which I've never seen before. But then some of our customers, still have some very basic early stage questions about whether we should deploy this type of technology at all.
Oh boy. Do you think these older companies and folks will stay alive by using companies like yours as bridges to AI? Because, yeah, what moat do they have? They have a brand moat, right? People trust them.
Yeah.
Do they have data? Most of them. Do they have an engine to gather all the customer data? What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of retailers and brands have some great customer data about them, about their audiences, but I do think that it's often quite kind of siloed and misplaced, right? Like it's not very easily usable. It's not very easily usable even by AI. Even kind of capturing all that data into one place, and even kind of just making sure it's available. It's all available to whatever AI you want to have kind of process it and drive insights from it and so forth. So that is definitely a challenge. Now, I do think that one of the kind of big challenges in any, let's say, more traditional industry is that there's a lot of trends. There's a lot of trends that kind of come and go, right? And actually, very few of those trends end up being sustainable, right? So if you think about kind of, even if they're sustainable, like historically, it's always taken longer. So if I'm kind of a traditional business owner, I'm the CEO of a big brand, for example, it's always historically taken a lot longer than people have said for something to really disseminate. Like just think about the internet, right? Like how long has e-commerce taken to, like how long has it taken for e-commerce to really kind of, take shape and form?
Forever.
So
20 years, 30
so
years.
exactly, and I think, like, I feel for those kind of leaders and CEOs, because they see all these things and they're seeing AI right now, and the question they have to ask for themselves is this going to be different? Is it going to be different this time? Is it going to
It's gonna be
change?
faster, and yes, because it's
Mm,
cognition, right? It's brains. It's
mm,
not another technology.
yeah.
It's
Well,
having
but you
it's
and
you
I
and I
believe that,
getting
right?
to market faster, to market and hiring AI agents that can outperform a
Mm,
Fortune 500
yeah.
in days and in minutes eventually, but these guys will still have the brand mode, the data mode, and the relationship
Yeah.
mode, right? So
Yeah. And I think, but I
yeah,
think the fundamental question is like, you and I believe that. I certainly believe like AI is going to be a much quicker transition than internet or mobile or any of these things that have happened, cloud, like any of these things that have happened in the past. But if I'm the CEO, of a big brand or, big retail
yeah, we're
chain
not that
or something
ICP,
like,
these
yeah,
are
exactly.
consumers, so it's different. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. And so I think that's the big challenge. Now, I do think that, the reason kind of we exist is exactly, to provide those brands and retailers with a very easy way to kind of get into AI, right? We've got a platform, an AI customer experience that is easy for them to adopt. And it's really easy for them to start seeing the power of AI in their own business. Because I
Right.
think that's kind of the other challenge that a lot of these big companies have is when you think about something like AI, they're always around like, okay, how do we get started? Like, sure, we can give everybody a ChatGPT or sort of Claude, subscription and whatever, but how do we really get started? Like, how do we do something that is just not prompting or something else? Like, and like, should we have our own chief AI officer? And should we have the whole department? Well, if you do that, you build that out, that's going to be 6+ months. Like, you're just going to be waiting for the next 6 months. So really, it's about what are some quick wins and some easy ways in which you can figure out the power of this technology and prove it out for yourself, and then you can just run with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of hand holding, right? Because even a chief AI officer, they they're not technical, most of these guys, and if their word was in the 2000s, so they would just like find out other buyers like you to actually fulfill the solution. So yeah, the chief AI officer period was also an interesting one. Yeah, I see lots of bridging, and I see the interest for sure, but isn't it a massive pain to sell to these companies and to onboard them? Like, how do you manage that? The gigantic sales cycle, hand
Yeah.
holding, and extra energy you need to invest in them.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. I mean, again, like we had the benefit of obviously like having worked with brands and retailers in our previous company as well. So we kind of knew how they're structured. So we knew to anticipate what is it going to take in order to actually, in order to actually not just to build a product, but also to sell a product. Like, what does it take to onboard them onto something like this? So we need to anticipate it, but it is certainly a lot more painful than selling into a technology savvy audience with something that somebody can subscribe from a website and you can just pay with a credit card. Like, I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't. But there's a flip side. Like, there's a flip side because on the other side, these customers, they are more sticky when they make a
Yeah, they stick around
decision,
forever.
and they stick around. And I think that is the kind of longer term benefit. So yes, upfront, you're going to have to do a lot more work, a lot more handholding, a lot more resources, which means you need to have a certain amount of team in place. You need to have certain types of infrastructure in place. Like, it's very hard to completely bootstrap a business like ours. But in the end of the day, like, the customers that you do get and have, they're not going to leave next week, because also leaving is very painful for them. Like, change is very painful.
Right. That's your European cold blood. Like, I would have some of my employees or teammates take the enterprise channel because I don't have the patience for selling to these people and explaining things 10 times. But yeah, you inspired me to have someone on that channel for sure. What are your priorities for this year? Because you already have a healthy ARR, healthy growth, right? Like, what's your top 3 priorities for this year?
So I think, I mean, I would say that, if we think about top 3 priorities, I would divide some into kind of external and internal. I think, internally as well, we are an AI company. AI is very core to our product, but also internally, I think this year is going to be the year where we make AI at the center of our operations. Like, everybody in the team is using AI tools for various different purposes. We use them for marketing and social media. We use them internally for a lot of things. But I think really redesigning our internal workflows around AI, having AI at the center with humans in the loop. We're not getting rid of humans. I think that is going to be at the core, because that's something that will allow us to scale fundamentally a lot more efficiently than what we could otherwise. So AI actually doing a lot of the work, humans checking and verifying that work, and of course having the human connection with our customers. So that's like a fundamental sort of internal shift, which is one of the key priorities. I think another one is again for our customers, right? One of the things that we want to show to them this year, and we obviously continue to do this, is just how quickly you can evolve together with AI, right? So again, the big thing that a lot of our customers are really sort of struggling with, after they've initially adopted AI, is now you have the consumer expectation of things getting better all the time. Like the next model and the next time they use something, it's got to be better than the last time they used something, because otherwise it's too slow. And the consumer is kind of, in the age of AI, they've been accustomed to that. So really being able to kind of showcase that power to our customers, which hopefully, of course, leads to faster growth, leads to higher net revenue retention, people expanding with us and so forth. So that's a big focus for us as well. And then I would say, sort of thirdly, again, continuing, we kind of reached a threshold last year where for the first time, we were actually EBITDA positive for the last couple of quarters of the year. And I think, that sort of financial discipline, because of everything that's going on in the world, like all the macro things that we can't influence, I wish we could, but we can't. So making sure that we kind of continue to remain efficient and kind of capital efficient, but also very kind of disciplined in how we run the business, despite what massive opportunities we might see. Because I think that type of long-term financial discipline ultimately allows you to have a certain level of optionality, which you don't have if you're burning a lot of money, or if you decide to go all into a particular thing and then you get burned. And I think that's important whenever you have anything kind of big going on from a macro standpoint.
I love that. Yeah, I love everything you're saying. Lots of insights today. Sampo, where can people find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, so of course you can check me out on LinkedIn. I'm also on X, more active on LinkedIn than X though. And then of course you can go to our website to find out more about the company. So that's www.revieve.com. And yeah, happy for anybody who's listening to connect on LinkedIn and start a conversation.
With Sampo and Charles for another